Hello, how are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Thanks
Yeah.
for agreeing to do this testimonial with us.
No problem, no problem. We love the product. There's no doubt. It's
Okay.
very good.
Good. Good.
All right, so just to start with some basic info, could you tell us at the University of Missouri which sports teams use Qubit right now?
So right now, baseball uses it with the coach to catcher,
Okay.
as well as communicating from the pitching coach in the dugout to the assistant pitching coach in the bullpen. And then we use it at football for my staff. We have 17 units for our equipment staff to use during practices and games.
Okay. For football, could you tell us more about how Qubit devices are used?
Yeah, yeah. So the way that we use them to communicate between my staff, between the three full-time guys, and then to our student equipment managers, so that if a coach has an issue or if a player has an issue and they can't figure it out, then all of us are in constant communication with it. And I would say this is the first time that I've ever had communication that has not been interfered with by anything from schools to police interference or anything like that. That's during practice. And then usually during the games, you get jammed up with the concession people or something else. But we have never had any issues with losing communication or not being able to hear. It's probably one of our best devices that we've ever had. We utilize it in the equipment room for us a ton. It works out really, really well.
Okay. And when you mean in the equipment room, could you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, kind of like I said, with using them out at practice, and then during the games, it even works really well because there's times that we have to send some guys into the locker room to get either cleats or another jersey or something like that. And normally, you can still communicate with the person from standing out on the game field and even into the locker room. The signal still works really well. So.
Okay. Could you share one more example of using Qubit devices on the baseball team?
Yep. So baseball uses it between the two coaches, the pitching coach, assistant pitching coach, and then the pitching coach relays the pitches to the catcher from there, and then they use their little wrist device to let the pitcher and catcher know with what is going on. Pitching coach really loves it because then he can kind of communicate with the catcher, let him know that if it's going to be like an off-speed pitch or a curve, to really get to know to be able to drop down that it's going to be a little short or something like that. There's a capability of something like that, so he can communicate with the catcher a lot through those type of situations.
And what features of Qubit do you find the most valuable? You did mention the lack of interference, but is there any other one that comes to mind?
I think the ease to use and the amount of channels that you can choose from. And there's times like I know when the pitching coach, because I think the manager has one as well. But if he's coaching at the time, then those two can switch to another channel, and then they can have a conversation, and then go back to the one to where the catcher's involved in it and everything else. So I would say that the number of channels and the ease to use of it is phenomenal.
And have you received any feedback from your players or coaches about their experience using this?
Yeah, the catcher, and that was part of the reason why we had reached out to Josh and to you about having the softer earpiece. The catcher liked having the little softer earpiece as well as our uh, pitching coach. They like the little softer one instead of the harder one, and it's a little easier for them to hear because it goes down into their ear a little bit more than what the harder one does. So they've really appreciated that, and that's been a huge, huge part of their success this season as well.
And you kind of touched on this a little bit, but how does Qubit devices compare to other communication methods you've used in the past?
For us in the equipment room at football, it does. There's nothing on the market like it. I think as small and compact that it is for us to be able to put hook to your shorts or keep in your pocket or whatever else, and the earpiece is phenomenal. I've had I've gone through a bazillion earpieces with the generic ones you can buy off of Amazon, even up to the real expensive ones that some of the other people use. But those get big and bulky, and you still have the same issues of trying to run and work practice. But with the cubic one, as small as it is, it makes it so much easier to slide in your pocket. And that's kind of what the baseball coaches told me is with the sleek and small device of it, it works so well on the catcher in that release point for when the catcher is a throw and be able to hook it back on makes it so much easier for them.
And the last question is, based on your experience, would you recommend Qubit to other teams and schools?
I've well, you guys also have helped me out a little bit in Little League too. Our Little League baseball team uses the transmitter with the radio into it. So I've had quite a few Little League teams asking me about it. So I've tried to sell some for you guys as well that way too. But as for us, I've had a couple colleges ask us on game day what system we're using, and I know there were quite a few SEC teams that had talked to our coaches about it because they had reached out to Josh, I think, at the baseball show. So yeah, I recommend it to as many people as I can.
Thanks
Yeah.
okay, sounds great. Thanks so much for answering this question.
Yep, you're welcome.
I'm glad
Great. Thank you very much, Coach K. Yeah. Okay.
It's our pleasure.